the exception of these two tables on either side, just these two. All right, but the others are available. So please come, join us at the front as I invite Sarah to take over. It's your session now. Starting now, and I'm hoping, Sarah, that you will not go beyond, let's see now, it should be 11:40, but we have to go all the way to 12, I guess. 12, yes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kajingo, Vice Chair of the Private Sector Foundation. I will straight away invite our panelists, Mrs. Stella Aliwatese, the head of the National Personal Data Protection. You're welcome, Stella. Melinda.
Sarah, we need to congratulate her as she makes her way.
Oh, yes.
Newly appointed judge. Ladies and gentlemen.
Justice of the Court of Appeal.
Yes.
You're welcome, Justice Stella.
And now we have someone defending us at the Court of Appeal with data protection. We really
Stella is the director of the National Personal Data Protection, the regulatory body which ensures responsible data governance and privacy. Melinda Atheire, the operations manager of Enimiro, an agriculture business focused on sustainable value chain development in the vanilla and dried fruit sector. Ivan Mugere, the country manager of Pula, a firm specializing in agriculture insurance risk management solutions tailored for smallholder farmers. Mr. William Luyinda, the CEO of Easy Agric, a digital platform providing precision farming tools. As William makes his way, I'll take this opportunity to invite Brian Luetute, the CEO of AgriYields, which leverages data analytics to optimize agriculture supply chains and market access. Welcome, Brian. Brian has an app for precision of agriculture. As you have heard from our chair, Humphrey Nzei, Uganda is a partner state of the East African Community, a market of over 340 million people, and the African Continental Free Trade Area, the world's largest free trade area ever since the founding of the World Trade Organization of over 1 billion people. Uganda is, our beautiful country is land-linked, and 18% of our land is occupied by open inland waters and wetlands, whereas 37.8% is arable land. And therefore, agriculture is the backbone of our country's economy, employing 70% of the population and contributing significantly to our GDP. Our government has supported producers for quite some time now, and it's projected that our economy will grow at 6% rate by the IMF. However, smallholder farmers, who form the majority, face persistent challenges such as limited access to markets, financial constraints, and vulnerability to climate change. AgriTech has the potential to transform the sector by improving productivity, increasing efficiency, and providing real-time data for better decision-making. However, smallholder farmers still face barriers such as affordability to digital literacy and infrastructure limitations. So today, our panelists who join us. We will be discussing the potential of AgriTech in transforming smallholder agriculture and overcoming barriers to reach smallholder farmers. Brian Luetute of Agri Yields, please share with us your experience on how AgriTech has evolved in addressing smallholder farmers' challenges in Uganda and how it can mitigate climate change impacts and improve resilience. In 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Sarah. The challenges of smallholder farmers are many, but I'll categorize them as challenges that are on farm, off farm, and then the access to the market. For on farm challenges, starting with the soils, there is low productivity because our soils are heavily degraded. Actually, I just got reminded here, our national anthem, the third stanza, talks about how we have fertile soils, but over time, our soils have been degraded due to poor farming methods and other approaches. So by implementing AgTech practices, we can help smallholder farmers to increase the productivity per unit area. And to do this, we have several approaches. Technology has come in for soil testing, for example. Farmers now can do what? Can be able to get real-time information on the macronutrient status of the soils, because this is the food that our plants take. So for optimal plant growth, you need to be able to know what is in the soil so that you use the data to make sure that you make the appropriate decision. The second challenge is about, of course, the effects of climate change, erratic weather patterns and all. So there is a challenge of, lack of access to water, lack of access to inputs, affordability of the inputs, access to finance, affordable finance. But luckily, just like technology has disrupted many of the sectors, the agricultural revolution is happening in Uganda at the moment. And as you've seen with the various speakers, today the phone can be used to help the farmer to access so many things. And I think our focus needs to be there, and to also increase the digital literacy of the farmers towards appreciating the shift in the traditional methods of farming before to what we have now, because that is the only way we are sure that a farmer will get an income and contribute to the digital economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. With those challenges noted, I will go straight to William Luinda of Easy Agric, whose company has developed digital tools for farmers. William, what are some of the key success stories where AgriTech has significantly improved yields or income?
Sure. Hello. Hello.
Go ahead, William.
Okay. That's good.
Yes.
Maybe to just give context, I'm called William Linda, co-founder and CEO of Easy Agric. What we do is that we digitize the foundation rails of farming communities. Farming communities, I mean farmers and the MSMEs, or micro and medium small enterprises, which we work with farmers so that we give them access to genuine agricultural inputs, know how to use those inputs, access to financial services, and also access to markets. Maybe to give you a context before even I bring in the success, from the big picture, Easy Agric app is one of the most used agriculture-focused apps in Africa on Google Play Store, with over 100,000 downloads and above, with over 20,000 users per month. 90% from Uganda, 10% is split between Kenya, US, and China, just to give you context. Now, when I come to the success stories, of course, we could see how people are using our app every day. So what we did is that I think we need to go beyond ourselves. So what we did is that we reached out to GIZ. GIZ was able to contract an impact study organization called 60 Decibels. Most of you must be knowing it. So we gave them access to almost 10,000 of our customers, but they couldn't reach all of them at a go, so they prioritized them by 300 of them. So these were the findings. Allow me to read for you some of the findings. So they were done independently without our knowledge. So, okay, we gave them the data and gave them the consent, but they reached out to our customers to see how deep our impact is. So one of the key things is that 89% of our users reported increased production. And that means that the yield out of the farm. And 79% of these 89, you can do the maths of 350 users, they reported this increased production from the same land. What it means that, because we wanted to see how are we influencing people to open up more land, or actually is there also analysis around the increased production on the same farm? That means that if at all a farmer was doing one acre before he got 10 bags, then now they are reporting almost 150 bags, or 10 bags, now they're reporting around 15 bags, but on the same acre. That means that our area assumption of the right know-how and the right input on the same kind of farm had started giving us positive results. Secondly, 84% reported increased earnings, and by these earnings we split them. But the highest, first of all, went to the increased volume out of the farm, but also the second one was increased price, and the third one was reduced cost of production. That when you combine all these kind of three factors, that these 84% of them increased the earnings. But now we had to look at also the increased, we can say you can increase your production, you can increase the earning, but by the way, can you try to improve the quality of your life? And what is that improvement of quality of your life is that when you get an emergence of like around $20 or $30, can you try to cater for that particular emergence before and after easy agri? So 86% of our users reported their ability to improve their livelihood by them trying to cater for those particular kind of emergency expense.
Thank you. Brian, our followers online would like to know how AgriTech adoption can be measured effectively in terms of productivity, income, and sustainability.
Yes. Sorry, did you say Brian?
Oh.
Thank you very much.
No, sorry, I mixed up the names.
Okay, sure. Okay, sure. So when we talk about income, we talk about, first of all, the difference of the yield which the farming community is able to get from the farm minus what they eat, so that balance is what they sell. For us, that's how we look at it. By the fact that we are positioned for us to provide services to the farming community, both the in and the out of the farm, it is able to give us the visibility on all these kind of statistics which you are trying to read. When it comes to MSMEs, we have gone ahead to ask ourselves around the income that, hey, hold on, if I told you are an agro dealer, if I told you a farmer cooperative trying to sell in your farming community, what kind of products were you selling before? Is the agric, and what kind of products have you sold now? Because also that tells us about the increase in the income as the MSMEs. And what we have found out that majority of them have increased the diversity of the products which they are selling. And when we try to go beneath, for example, someone was heavily selling crop protection before. But now he's selling seed. We know seed is one of the products with the highest margin in the industry. But he's also selling fertilizer. Then we're like, oh, hold on. If I told you are selling mainly crop protection, how come that actually you're able to sell also these kind of products? Then these guys are like, no, by the fact that I can be able to access extension on my phone, my community feels more confident in me. So by the fact that I can try to advise them on how to use these particular products, in addition to selling these kind of products. So that trust and confidence which increased from my farming community was able to come and they purchase a little bit more diverse products from me. That is also increased kind of income from the MSMEs. When you talk about sustainability, we ask ourselves, okay, when you talk about sustainability is so huge, but let's talk about the commercial sustainability, and then let's also look at the environmental sustainability. When you look at the commercial sustainability, by the fact that we have almost 8,000 farmers who keep their farm records on our app per month voluntarily, that they put in that this were my cost of production, now this is how much I've been able to get in. When you look at that pattern of the data, we realize that their unit economics, that means that if it takes a farmer to produce 1 kilogram of coffee, maybe it takes them like 5,000 Ugandan shilling in the beginning, and what they're getting out is like 10,000 Ugandan shilling. What we are seeing is that their cost of production is dropping to come to around 4,000 or 4,500, and their income is also increasing. That's commercial sustainability.
Thank you, William. You have an opportunity to share again. So we have Melinda Hateve of Enimiro, a company which produces vanilla and dried fruits, but also use technology to trace supply chain and help smallholder farmers. Could you, Melinda, give us more details on this and how exactly you do it? How can the last mile delivery challenges be addressed?
Thank you so much, Sarah. Before I get to the question, I'd like to appreciate Private Sector Foundation, the interns you placed with us at Enimiro, the graduates you placed with us are still there and they are doing a very good job, and they are part of the team that is championing and implementing AgriTech in field. So thanks so much, Private Sector Foundation. Back to the question, I believe AgTech is very important, and we all know that AgTech is the future, but we need to look at AgTech as the future, but also AgTech done cost effectively, and also look at the practicability of AgTech in field. For Enimiro, a company working with over 4,000 farmers, we have not only embraced technology, but also have set up systems in field on farmer level to enable us to implement technology with our farmers. We have put up systems through extension workers that are locally with farmers and have been approved by these farmers who are on ground, making sure that technology that has been implemented is being actually done. This is done through a simple smartphone where these extension workers or agents can do farmer profiling, can do geomapping for the farmer fields, can understand the farmer acreage, can understand the farmer production and yield, and can also do what we call opening bank accounts for farmers, because Enimiro does farmer payments digitally through bank accounts. So with technology, as we look at embracing technology as agribusinesses, we need to look at how cost effectively can this be done, and how can we make sure that farmers who don't have the capacity yet to implement this technology are being part of technology. This is where Enimiro is using extension workers, and through us doing geomapping, traceability, farmer profiling, we are also able to hit the regulations objectives, that is EUDR, CS3D, Rainforest Alliance, which also helps us as a company to access more market globally and also increase incomes for farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. Do your farmers face challenges in adopting AgriTech, and how do you deal with that, with those challenges?
Thank you so much. So yes, farmers are farmers, and we know most of our farmers from the data we have at Enimiro are not very well educated. So for some of these farmers, it will be a bit hard for them to use a smartphone, for them to do geomapping for themselves as a farmer, for them to estimate their yield estimates. That is why I said we are using what we call direct farmer engagement, to be directly working with these farmers, to have local extension workers working with these farmers using a simple smartphone, and for us it's costing less than $2 for us to do all this technology, all this profiling with the farmers. So our extension team are out there helping farmers to do profiling, understand their yields, do the geomapping, and also help these farmers keep informed on the market access data and information.
Thank you, Melinda, for sharing your insights. Ivan Mugere is the country manager of Pula, and they specialize in agricultural insurance. Ivan, access to insurance and risk management tools is crucial to farmers. How can AgriTech make such financial products more accessible and affordable?
Thank you so much. Before I dive into your question, I wanted to talk about briefly about Pula, what we're doing. So Pula is, if you think about Pula, it's a Setswana word meaning rain. So our company is called Rain Advisors. When you think about Pula, think about de-risking agricultural investments through agricultural insurance, and also think about securing agricultural markets. Currently, we are helping Uganda to secure over $1 billion in coffee markets to the EU through EUDR, and we assist the country, Uganda, to set up a national traceability system, and we are the ones actually doing the actual farmer registration all over the country. And for agricultural insurance, of course, we are assisting to de-risk this sector where people fear to invest or to actually give loans in this sector. How can we reduce the risk in this sector? One, first of all, we assist the banks to become comfortable to lend to the sector. And how do we do that? We ensure that we develop key products that the banks can be able to be comfortable to lend, knowing that in case everything fails, there's an insurer going to pay back the bank, so the farmer does not have any worry to repay back the loans. And we do a lot of trainings in this sector up to the farmer level, using the help of extension workers and off-takers in this sector. And we also use a lot of technology in assessing the yields and the losses on the farm, using, of course, the satellite to get crop development reports. So within the season, you already know where is the season going to be, how much are the yields going to be, and we're able to send these crop development reports to the farmers. We use IVR for farmer registration and also for farmer responses to assess how we have actually impacted them and how the season has gone. So we have all this data, and we assist in using this data to become useful through data analytics and so on and so on.
Thank you, Ivan. Our newly appointed Justice Stella Albertese of the Court of Appeal of the Republic of Uganda, welcome to this conference. It is a great pleasure to have you. Stella is an OG of my school, and I'm really pleased to see you today. Thank you for making the time. Justice Stella Albertese heads the National Personal Data Protection, and she is the director of that center under NITA. As you may have already noted, Uganda is experiencing fast growth in technologies, and today specifically in AgriTech, which is still growing. Data privacy and security have become growing concerns in AgriTech. How can we balance innovation with responsible data governance to protect smallholder farmers?
Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to speak at this session. For me, what it indicated is that you're fully aware of the ecosystem, because when you talk about digitization, when you talk about agri-technology and all these other innovations, it's important that we protect the individual who is at the core of many of these solutions. Across the forum here, people have been dropping numbers, 100,000. I think when I read a little about Pula, they've reached out, they've impacted about 450,000 farmers. They are doing the registration for farmers within the coffee industry. It shows that at the core of all these innovations, we have individuals who are farmers. We have agri-product solution providers who are also individuals. And for you to be able to provide a service, it's important that you identify them, that you know who they are. If you're going to provide insurance, if you're going to provide financial solutions, you start by identifying me. I'm personally also a farmer. I'm a coffee farmer. I'm still waiting for Pula to register me. But I'm comforted that when this program started, we did see the advert in the papers, and we reached out to, I think it's Agribusiness Trust, and engaged them to make sure that as they collect this information, they actually take care of the privacy and data protection issues. Now, to go to the question that you asked, in many cases, when I sit in a room full of innovators, for instance, they always think that privacy and data protection are actually opposed to innovation. And I disagree. They are actually enablers of innovation. Because for you to be able to reach out to 100,000 farmers, they need to trust your platform. If they are giving you information, I think someone was saying they are willingly, the gentleman, the second gentleman there was saying that farmers are willing to provide their yield statistics, how much they are earning. That is financial information. You can imagine if you pick up that information and let's say share it with Uganda Revenue Authority, what would happen? Without notifying them, without explaining to them why you need to share that information. So issues to do with privacy and data protection are very, very integral in the innovation space because they provide trust, they provide business growth. If you're not trusted, your business will not grow. So they are not, the privacy is an enabler. And I'm happy that in these spaces, yes, we are talking about what this technology is able to do, but we are also talking about issues to do with privacy. Mm-hmm. And I hope I'll have an opportunity to explain how easy it is and some of the things we've done at the Personal Data Protection Office to make it easy to comply. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Justice Stella. But you could share the best practices before I open the engagement to the delegates, the best practices that agri-tech companies should adopt to ensure compliance and with data protection regulations.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. When you're complying with data protection and privacy laws, there are a number of principles that you must comply with. In Uganda, we have about 7 of them, and these are not only in Uganda, you'll find them everywhere, including Europe. Europe is the for me, I tell people it's the gold standard when you're talking about privacy and data protection compliance. So when you look at these principles, one of them is accountability, which means that you must be accountable to that individual whose personal data you're collecting. Whatever data you collect, you must collect lawfully and fairly. In other words, you must have a legal basis. And the legal basis does not mean that it's, you require legislation. It could be a contract. For instance, I believe our distinguished panelists here, when they are collecting information, they introduce themselves to the farmers and tell them why they need to collect that information. So that processing of that personal data has to be fair. For instance, if you have your database of 450,000 farmers, and you've said, you know, we are complying with this EU regulation, we are going to provide you with products, we are going to give you insurance, but then 3 months down the road, they hear that you handed over their data to a digital money lender. For those of us who are Ugandans, we know how our population is struggling with digital money lenders. So would that be fair processing, for instance? The third principle is that you only retain this information for the purpose for which you collected this information, and many, many others. In terms of implementing these principles, in Uganda, one of the first requirements is that you register with the Personal Data Protection Office. We've made that entire process digitized, so you do not have to see Stella. You can do it wherever you are, including the payment. When I sign that certificate, I sign it digitally, and you get it in your email inbox. Secondly, we recommend, if you're dealing with, let's say, 450,000 farmers, we expect you to have a data protection officer. And that designated data protection officer is someone that we work with as the PDPO to support you in terms of compliance. Then, of course, we expect a privacy policy and many other things. What we've done at the Personal Data Protection Office, with the support of financial sector deepening, we've actually developed a compliance toolkit for fintechs and SMEs, and we are rolling it out actually. We are having our first training next week. We expect that with this toolkit, once, because we understand that many of these organizations are startups and may not have the financial muscle to develop some of these frameworks, but we've done the checklists, we've done the templates, we've provided a lot of guidance to make it easy for you to comply. Lastly, we have a YouTube channel. We do trainings or speaking engagements once a month, the last Thursday of the month. We record all those sessions, and you can find them on our YouTube channel. So we've tried as much as possible to make it easy to comply. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Stella. Brian, many of us are very excited about your apps and precision agriculture. How do you see data-driven insights improve supply chain efficiency to smallholder farmers?
Thank you, Sarah. Basically, to improve for example, the delivery of inputs for farmers, we need to sort of disrupt the existing, transport and supply chain initiatives that are around by moving the entire process of, for example, getting the yield from the farmer to the market by digitizing that process. We can do that via traceability mechanisms. And the reverse process of getting inputs, getting seedlings, and any kind of support that a farmer may need to also be moved into the digital space. And in this area of delivery, there is the new paradigm for, electric sort of or low carbon transport deliveries. I think this is an area that can complement the AgTech supply chain paradigm to help the smallholder farmers. Another thing, to improve the efficiency of the supply chain means there has to be a model for predicting data about the yields from the farmer ahead of time. Because once you know that the season is starting and a farmer is on 2 or 3 acres doing maize, right now at AgriYields we've built models where you can easily tell how much yield is going to come out of this. So you do reverse planning ahead of time, find markets, connect the farmer to the market, so that, and if there is no market, find a storage facility where the farmer produce is not lost. So technology will play a very big role in this area. From a sustainable kind of approach, I know the EU has what you call a EU Green Deal, which also involves the EU DRA process. There's going to be a lot of traceability around the food we produce, the smallholder farmers produce, in terms of what pesticide, for example, is used, what type of fertilizer is used, and the quantities, and whether that has an effect or whether it is approved, for example, by the EU. So as a country, we need to, first of all, look at this process and do funding in this area. Actually, luckily, I was looking at the National Budget Framework paper in the agro-industrialization process, where government is committing some money to be able to put, for example, storage facilities for farmers to make sure that the post-harvest losses are reduced, but also put money in terms of innovation, new disruptive models for supply chain. And I think this is what is going to make sure that we connect the farmer. We have a smooth process for produce from the farmer all the way to the market.
Thank you, Brian. I'll now open the engagement to the delegates. You may share your perspectives, but concisely. Make sure to ask or share your perspectives in respect to our discussion today. Of course, for us as Private Sector Foundation, we are very interested in smallholders making business sense of agriculture, and these innovations our fantastic panelists have shared are very key to growing Uganda's agriculture. You now have the opportunity. Please raise your hand, say your name, ask or share your insights. Anyone, delegates, it's your opportunity now to engage. We have our first delegate. Welcome to Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Your name, your insights or question. Please help her, we barely hear.
Yes, thank you very much for some really interesting presentations and different perspectives of today's topic. I should introduce myself. My name is Marie Visti Hansen. I'm Danish. I'm working here as a consultant presently, focusing on this area. I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit more about the more advanced methods within AgriTech. I took with me from the presentation that there is and understanding that the technology must always sort of follow the user, the end user. The farmers must be able to adapt this technology. And I also understand that like some of the first technologies, like the mobile phones, are still not exhausted. There's still much to do within these technologies. But are there any newer technologies you could point towards the members of the panel, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Alice Kampire Mwonge. I'm with Otas Africa Capital, CFO Director, Otas Africa Capital. We are an investments and advisory firm. My question goes to the gentleman on insurance. Yeah. With agriculture especially, the risks are really myriad. You'll find almost 100 plus risks that a farmer will face. Yeah, you would find that the sun was too aggressive or it wasn't there. The rains were too heavy or they were not there. The soils were, so the risks are very high. And with any insurance products, when the risks are really high, the chances of getting paid or compensation for that insurance product also becomes high. So you find the fine print in that insurance contract may prohibit the farmers from getting insurance cover. My question goes to one, the farmer side. What would they need to do to ensure that they meet and tick off all those areas and ensure that in case of any no harvest or any damage to the crops, they're able to get insured? Yeah? But again, on the side of the insurance company, what have been the chances of translating that insurance policy into actual cash from the farmers? Because as I see the agricultural sector, the insurance products have been taken off very high. So what would be your advice for insurance cover and ensuring that at least farmers are sure that they'll get their compensation once they don't have a good harvest?
Thank you, Alice. We'll have our third and last question for these first three questions so that the panelists can respond.
Hello, my name is Franziska Atui. I'm working for Welthungerhilfe. It's a German NGO operating here in Uganda. We have a quite wide skilling program, and we are asking ourselves more and more what kind of skills do our farmers, but also our youth need to be able to use your products, but also to get ready for like the future to access, not just in the digital space, but in the general tech space, and how can we get them fit for the future?
Thank you. Insurance, you take the first question on how smallholder farmers can translate the policy to cash.
If you insure your car and your priority is to get a payment from the insurer, I think that's the wrong motive. Yeah, because you may end up losing your life in the process. But I'll briefly give you a background of how insurance actually works, and then I'll give you an insight on actually how we do it. So you take up insurance because you want to sleep well. You want to know that no matter what happens, I'm going to be able to benefit from what I'm doing. Farmers are in the business of getting yield. That's their sole reason for waking up and going to the garden. And as pool advisors, we are not an insurance company, but we are service providers to insurance companies. And when you take up an agricultural policy, we are the ones actually in the background going to assess the losses on the farm. So actually, I'm the right person to actually answer your question, not even the insurance companies. We have an in-house product called Area Yield Index Insurance, which actually shields the farmer against yield losses, specifically against the following perils. One, excessive rainfall, flooding, uncontrollable pests and diseases, hailstorms, heat waves, mudslides, etc. Mostly think about natural calamities that are beyond your control as a farmer that are going to affect your yield. Now, number one, it is very important for a farmer to actually be sensitized on the different agricultural products that are available on the market before they choose them. This thing is gone. Can you hear me? So if you choose, for instance, weather index, you're only protecting your farm against rainfall and drought. So if pests attack your farm, you won't get paid. You see? So it is very, very important that you understand the different products that are available and the pros and cons, and then you take up the right product. Number two, you need to plant on time. We always issue planting windows. So for instance, you should look out for the planting windows because if you plant outside the planting window, insurance companies will tell you, sorry, you don't qualify because we did communicate the planting windows and you just need to plant on time because they always get the weather forecasts. They also get predictions from the satellite and they know when the rains are going to come. Number three, you have to basically plant right. You cannot, for instance, you need to understand, you need to do some tests on your soil before you plant a crop. Everyone knows that, for instance, Irish potatoes are doing well in Kabale because of the weather. We all know very well that Arabica coffee does well in the mountains. So you cannot do Arabica coffee, for instance, in the central region, and you think that you'll have good yields. But yes, that's exactly what we do, and to increase your chances of actually getting paid by the insurance companies, you need to calculate very well what you're going to plant and where you're going to plant it, and then you do your agronomic practices. Like for instance, don't neglect your farm. Like weed your farm. So we will come as assessors, we will look at your farm. We will, first of all, the first thing we'll do is to map your farm boundary, put it on Google Maps, use satellite to actually investigate the previous rainfall patterns of that plot and versus the current rainfall patterns, and we'll get evidence. So, for instance, if in this season you had enough rain to grow the maize, but actually the real reason why you have bad yields is because of the weeding, then you won't get paid. So there's a lot of mathematics and science around it, and all I can assure you is that in the end, when we come to actually do our job to assess the loss, we'll do it right because we have technology. We use remote sensing to actually look at your crop as it is developing during the season. And we keep sending you alerts on SMS that now your plant should be flowering. If it's not, do ABCD, things like this. So you just have to follow all this. And if all goes well and our report comes out very, very well at the end of the season, for sure you'll get paid. And all the insurers that we use and our reinsurers, they actually pay within 6 weeks. We did the highest payout in Africa last quarter in Zambia. You can Google about it, $30 million. We got these European reinsurers to pay $30 million using our data. So all I can say is be on the lookout, prepare well before you take up a premium, pay your premium on time, and plant on time, and plant right.
Thank you, Ivan. Now, regarding proliferation of mobile technologies, the consultant is asking, yes, these are well noted, but we have not covered 100% of the country, smallholder farmers. What are the new technologies that farmers can adopt? What's new? What's the latest? Brian?
Thank you. So there are a couple of technologies. At the farm level, we can use what you call Internet of Things or IoT to measure certain nutrients in the soil and then be able to advise the farmer accordingly. This is a process actually we are conducting right at the moment. And just to give you an example, last week we had a customer somewhere in Buikwe who has about 30 acres of Hass avocado. This is a farm of about a year, so he's planting progressively, and he's had a problem whenever he plants, the crops, the roots actually rot, and not tell. Hello? Okay. So we did a soil test at his farm, and what we actually discovered were two things. Number one, not only a soil test, but the environmental conditions in the area to find out if they are optimal for Hass growth. And what we found in the soil is that the reason why this farmer has been getting a lot of losses is because the temperatures in the soils are actually very high, to the tune of about 30 degrees. Now, what is causing this is because the area where it is progressively has got a lot of, the temperature is a little bit high, and then it doesn't have shade in the garden. So what was happening is the roots actually get burnt by the what? By the excess heat. So without taking gadgets and finding out, the farmer would continually be losing a lot of money. Another thing that I want to talk about in terms of technology, you know, farming, it's not only about the nutrients, it's also about the water. Water is a finite resource. So we should be able, we can use precision technology today to advise farmers on precisely what to irrigate, when to water, and when not to water. Those of you who read papers at FAO know about what they call the PENAM model, which uses aspects of temperature, humidity, and pressure to calculate crop-specific advisory plans for water. So what we are doing now at AgriYields, what we want to do is to be able to not only target the commercial farmer, but scale it down to a location-based forecast for both water, for weather, and nutrient updates. Lastly, I saw the issue of insurance is a bit hot here. To de-risk farmers today, with an extension system in Uganda, which is lacking in terms of tools and in terms of personnel, as per recent newspaper reports, what we need to do is to leverage the power of satellite technology. We can actually use certain indices. Once we geomap the farm, we are able to actually be able to remotely monitor a farm by looking at the health of the crops in a specific location. Now, of course, it requires a little bit of money, and this is where I think government needs to come in to bridge the gap. I know a few years ago we had a satellite project in Uganda, but I don't know how that went. But to be able to reach the 70% farming households in Uganda, we may need to use technologies in the sky. Lastly, for pests, again, what we need to know is that all pests or fungicides thrive best at a certain temperature. So once I know the location of a farm, we should be able to develop AI models that can actually predict when a pest is going to do what, to appear, so that we provide the actual advisory and to be able to de-risk the investment in the case of the banker who was asking a question. The last technology I want to talk about, which can help the farmer ecosystem, especially under, if we have farmers organized in groups and cooperatives, is the issue of the drones. Right now, there are a few companies that are offering drone services for spraying. Right now, mainly for the big commercial farmers in northern Uganda, but also for the forestry sector. The major impediment there is the cost of the drone is very high, but the saving in terms of human hours to for example, spray a certain pesticide in a location, in an acre, a drone will take 5 minutes. Now imagine if it's a smallholder farmer who has their jerrycan at the back. It has health implications. So if we have farmers, for example, we can substitute the mechanization approach, for example, to draw a balance between how many tractors are given by government down to the farmer group level, to put some drones in place. What that will help us is now two things. We shall be able to geomap the farms, so we'll know every farmer wherever they are. We invest in capacity building for the extension service, so we implement training and skills for the agriculture down, the extension workforce down at the community level with these new technologies.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Speaking of artificial intelligence, William, would you like to come in here on new technologies in respect to AI?
Sure. Currently, we get over 40 images per day. It's little, but it's a lot, from farmers asking about different diseases. And it takes a little bit quite of some good time for agronomists to be able to troubleshoot it properly. So what we did is that we had to dive into, we collaborated with NARO, especially on the side of folio armyworm, they breed folio armyworm for us to create huge data about the disease so that we can be able to train our models, but that moved a little bit so much slower. So what we did is that we went and we are starting a collaboration with OpenAI. We have tested out all these things, whereby you give the model a given kind of the image, then also you get the scientist to make sure that whether the recommendations are related, and it's almost 95% correct. So for us, the opportunity which we are seeing is that for us to be able to scale to millions of farmers, then that means that we need such models behind to run the kind of technology which we want. Maybe briefly talking about the skills, because this is very so much close to my heart. We have trained people, we have trained over 12,000 young people in the country for 10 years. And these are my lessons which I've been able to learn. You need to make sure that you don't design a training program to train them how to use a phone, how to send a message, how to use Easy Agric. We have learned it the hard way that actually it's very important to train them how to unlock their mindset. Show them where the money is. When you show people that, hey, you are just only aggregating produce, but by the way, you can earn this kind of commission on inputs, you can earn this on this whatsoever. We have found out that the people with the right mindset, they are going to adopt technologies automatically. That's why you see our mothers, they're older than us, but they're able to use WhatsApp, but they use audio. I'm very sure people here also do that. Because they don't want to text, because text is not their kind of fit in form of technology. But they understand that WhatsApp helps them to talk to their suppliers in China, so they're able to send them particular audio. So that's what we have been able to learn, that even in the young people, let it be even the women, you just show them where the money is, then they are going to, people with the right mindset, they're going to just adopt the technology. Then you do a refresher training on how they can easily adopt the technology very fast, but not you heavily investing on teaching them how to use technology. I hope that's clear.
Thank you, William. Melinda and Nimiro, we have noted that the fast growth of technologies around the world, how do we make our smallholder farmers future fit? If you could speak to that in respect to AI and the new technologies.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I think already like the speaker that's just finished said, I think farmers will need to do a lot of training for them, which will start with making sure that farmers can access mobile phones, and then through using the extension agents or using what we can call farmer leaders, these farmers can get trained on the different technologies to use, such as AI, such as using, training them to use platforms like e-commerce, like Jumia, to help some of the farmers, especially those in fruits and vegetables, to be able to access market directly through some of these apps. Also for farmers, I think they should be open, or I think they are open to adopting some of these technologies, but I think they are lacking some of these technologies technologies can be expensive for farmers to afford. So I think for some companies that are providing these services, it would be better to get these farmers trained and give them at a discounted amount for them to be able to adopt these technologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. Before we take our last set of questions, I'll get back to Justice Stella on the intersection of policy and regulation. How do we ensure fair access to AgriTech by farmers, smallholder farmers across the country?
As you rightly stated, policy is very important in how we develop this ecosystem. And government has a key role to play because, first of all, it deals directly with these citizens. It gathers a lot of information about the citizens. We had the recent census that was done by the Bureau of Statistics. Now, if you use the statistics you've received, as government, we should be able to develop policies that actually speak to our needs. For instance, in this case, to support AgriTech, as government, we need to have a policy where we extend connectivity across the country. And I know we are already doing that under the National Information Technology Authority. This year alone and next year, they should be able to extend about 6,000 kilometers in terms of the main backbone, but also the last mile connectivity, and that comes through policy. The other way policy connects with AgriTech is on the enablers. For instance, the speaker here talked about mobile phones. The main reason why our farmers are not able to access mobile phones is because of the cost. So government can actually have a policy where they subsidize or they actually reduce the tax on these mobile phones. And that is something I'm aware the Ministry of ICT has been doing. So those are some of the examples how policy can actually support AgriTech. And then lastly, when it comes to regulation, it's so important that as regulators, we talk to the community and we explain why certain things are important and also support the communities to comply with this regulation. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Stella. Our last set of questions, we'll have three. Ambassador Nimisha. Ambassador Nimisha is our High Commissioner in the UK.
Hello. Thank you. I'm actually here as Ambassador of Uganda to Ireland as part of EU, not as part of United Kingdom, which is no longer a part of EU. So thank you very much. Just my question is, I don't know if I missed it somewhere in your presentations, but thank you for them. In the small agricultural, smallholder farming, do you have a process for farmers to, turn their waste into biogas and be able to turn that into energy and either use it for development within the villages or in the area, or you covered it and I missed it? So I think it's an opportunity because of course it's green energy and it also gives some money extra to the smallholders, to their income. They may be able to do it like a cooperative and sell it to have it for each other within the smallholders farm. So I'd just like to hear your thoughts on it. And if money is needed, I think that they shouldn't necessarily have to go back to government. I think it may be good to go to financial institutions that will give to small, medium-scale industry at a cheaper rate, and then set people up to become more independent so that they're not totally dependent on government. And there is money available in the world. There's a lot of money in the world. It's a question of finding it and getting it for the right project. And as the insurance says, yes, we can give it $30 million to Zambia, but I'm sure you can give $30 million to us smallholders in Uganda. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Nimisha. Our second question, the gentleman at the back.
Yeah, hello. My name is Patrick Kizito Mobiru, and our segment in agriculture is farm to shelf. By farm to shelf, we mean after all the good things that we've done, proper farming methods, optimizing yield, and so on and so forth, we have a gap where that produce needs to end up either on a shelf in a supermarket or in a product as a raw material or in a research environment where, for example, herbs can be used in toothpaste. Also zero waste, because when you go to some of the, most of the markets in Kampala, you will notice that, for example, a tomato has only 7 days of shelf life. So before it goes bad, who picks it up and what can it be used for? So for us, that is where we come in to fill the gap. The other area is you will find that some of these agricultural products have seasons.
How do you fill the gap?
That's what I'm coming to. Some of these agricultural products, like chili, right now there's no chili in the market, yet our customers, the supermarkets, need the chili, the powdered chili. So we are asking, how far does EU go ahead to facilitate people like me to get bigger machines in order to have bigger production capacity so that we complete the value chain to enable the farmers, after all these good things are done, we then assure them of the market by value addition. Then the other area is you find that products like maize, there's technology to store them after the season, like silos, like the ones of Mandela. But for us, our equivalent of a silo, for example, for the tomatoes that I have mentioned, we turn the tomato and the likes of onion into onion powder. That way, we increase the life of the tomato and it's not thrown away after 7 days in a market. So there's a lot of food wastage if we do not find avenues that can complete that route. So my actual question is, how do you support people like us who are supporting the farmers after they've done all the good work? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before the panelists come in, this conference, which is the 4th EU-Uganda Business Summit, is to facilitate you to link up with business executives from the EU as well as colleagues in the industry in Uganda to address those issues. And I hope that before the end of the day, this conference will have facilitated that sort of networking. Our last question. We have a lady here, a lady in white. Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Stephen Twesije. I am a co-founder at Eco Erects Uganda. We are working with organic waste and converting it into valuable products with focus on the water hyacinths, and we are making the biogas, animal feeds, and fertilizers. My question to you, to anybody on the panel, probably you would be able to respond. I wanted to know which opportunities are currently available in the EU spaces where that support basically the just transition space in line with biogas or energy or clean energy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You will have the last opportunity.
Thank you very much. My name is Percy. So my question goes to Mr. Brian and Mr. William. Yes, we have agri-tech startups and innovations coming up and them reaching out to smallholder farmers. So for those farmers that are not reached out to, what is your say about USSD technology?
Your say on?
What is your say about USSD technology?
USSD. Thank you very much for those questions. Panelists, you've heard, green financing is available around the world. Delegates would like to know whether the smallholders are engaged in production of energy from biogas. How do they manage their waste? And a good discussion by a delegate at the back on finished products, post-harvest handling, but in respect to agri-tech. So you will each have an opportunity to respond to those questions, as well as opportunities in the EU spaces on biogas. But I encourage you delegates to sign up. I've been following the conversation online. Sign up and everybody's online and meet up and ask more questions. The platform will be open the entire day. So I'll begin with you, Brian, in 3 minutes. I'll respond to the questions, but also finally your recommendation on agri-tech and adoption by smallholders in Uganda.
Thank you, Sarah. On the question of on-farm conversion of biomass or waste into fertilizer, or energy, I'll speak specifically about the fertilizer bit. What is happening today is farmers who have animals at their farms are actually converting, they are drying dung, and once dung is dried, it removes a lot of the components that destroy certain organisms, and they apply earthworms. And that produces very rich fertilizer in terms of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which are the main, and also importantly, other bioorganisms that are necessary to regenerate the soil. So I know NARO has been doing a lot of work here. If you go to Kabanyoro, they have a program where they are trying to reach out to AgTechs like us, where we can partner. But also, I know that there's a new project funded by the World Bank under the Ministry of Agriculture. It's called the Climate Smart Agricultural Transformation Project. In there is a component where they are going to be investing in what they call beneficial insects. They are insects that are able to produce very rich fertilizer, like the black soldier fly, and also in another area, bees that are able to pollinate crops at the right time. So there is going to be, money has been approved by the World Bank, so it's a case of dissemination down to the individual farmers. The question about organic waste from the gentleman at the back, what I can say is that like the EU wants to promote a just transition to net zero by 2050. So what is happening is they are trying to make sure they reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the agriculture sector to zero by 2050. One of the approaches is to apply organic fertilizers. So I am sure very soon there will be a very big requests for especially the people who are in the export business, the horticulture businesses and the coffee businesses and anyone who's doing export to Europe to move to organic rather than the chemical fertilizer. I thank you.
Thank you. Justice Stella, what is your key recommendation on enhancement of agriculture technology adoption, but also data privacy as we conclude?
I think we've talked a lot about the potential for AgriTech, but on my side, the main issue is to ensure that that core person, that farmer, has to be protected. Let's not make the farmers commodities. We can still serve the farmers and also benefit from the service that we are offering. As I said earlier, at the Personal Data Protection Office, we are very open regulator, we are very accessible, we've digitized most of this information, so we encourage you to make use of it. One of the areas we've not really performed well is the translation, and we are trying to work on that because we understand that the bulk of our population does not speak English, so it is something we are working on. Since I'm here at the podium, I think I can also answer. There was a question on skilling that came up. As a farmer, I know that the agronomists that we normally have in the field are very theoretical. If I cannot access a credible agronomist, you can imagine what is happening to the smallholder farmer. So when we are skilling, the lady who is doing skilling, if you could design a program that can provide practical experience for the agronomists and then ensure that it covers the entire country or a number of districts, I think you really support the AgriTech companies, because ultimately the farmer wants better yields, and the only way they can do that is if they are supported to produce economically, but also to have sustainable markets that pay a fair price for their products. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stella, for emphasizing fairness. Melinda, your final take?
Thank you so much, Sarah. My final take for the day is that as we adopt technology, let's also put up systems on farmer level that will allow farmers to be able to implement technology. Thank you.
Ivan, insurance, your final take and a key recommendation.
My final take is that as farmers, we need to be proactive and be able to understand what we are going to plant when we are planting, and make sure that we take up insurance so that we can shield ourselves from calamities that can set us back and affect our livelihood. And yeah, that's it.
Brian, William.
Sure. Maybe just to, first of all, to quickly talk about USSD. We we ran pilots in the early days because we understand that USSD platforms reach to the majority of the people. But what we discovered from the user experience perspective, people they rarely buy products using USSD, but they easily buy services like sending money or any other kind of thing which is not tangible. But when it comes to a product which needs to be tangible, people would like to have a feel of seeing, even where possible, touching, then they make up their particular decision. So that's one thing. Then the second, my final take, would be from the policy perspective. I think as government, we need to be proactive for us to make sure that we create an enabling environment. I appreciate some of the effort which has already been done, but I still think there's more opportunities. Companies like us, which are AgTech businesses, we don't have physical assets. So we operate businesses where intellectual property is our core asset. But you realize that the current financial framework in the country, most of financial institutions here, they only fund when you have physical assets. Now you realize that companies like us who have what we call, or the businesses which are called asset-light businesses, we have to go abroad and raise this particular money from the people who understand such things. But I believe that if at all government makes the first move to create a fund for working capital for businesses like agriculture technology, for them to access this kind of capital without necessarily a need of a physical assets like trucks, land, buildings, etc., I think it's not going to leave the industry the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, William. Thank you, panelists, for sharing your knowledge, innovation, experiences, and insights. Thank you, delegates, for an insightful engagement. We have exhausted the potential of AgriTech in transforming smallholder agriculture and overcoming barriers to reach smallholder farmers. We have explored the current state of AgriTech, barriers to adoption and overcoming them, scaling AgriTech solutions from crop technologies, drones, GPS mapping to post-harvest innovations such as cold chain logistics. You have had emphasized, very important, fairness and protection of the smallholders, biogas and how to exploit it to produce energy for the farmers. Translation, very important in our diverse country, latest technologies and skills to ensure that smallholder farmers are future fit in this age of artificial intelligence. Thank you very much, and I wish you a productive conference and very productive engagement, and welcome Team Europe once again to our beautiful country, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we appreciate our moderator, Sarah Kajingo? And Sarah and your team, please do organize yourselves there for a nice photo. We'll have a group photo for you. As panel 1, that was happening simultaneously with panel 2. So if you're on the app or you're able to scan your QR code on the... Yes, Sarah, you want to...
Yes, I will invite our chair,
please.
Our chair of the private sector
You're the
foundation.
You're the boss for this session. Do as you please.
I'm the boss. I invite the board chair of Oil and Gas, Agri.
There you go.
And our distinguished excellencies, our representatives to Europe.
There you go. Ambassadors, please. Ambassadors to the EU countries, and of course the ambassador to the United Kingdom and other. All right. We may not get another honor of having the Lady Justice Stella on another panel like this, but surely we'll have her on other panels related to data protection in her new capacity as Justice of the Court of Appeal. So it's indeed an honor, and may I request all of us, can we appreciate this panel, ladies and gentlemen? Panel 1 on the potential for agricultural technology in transforming smallholder agriculture and overcoming barriers to reach smallholder farmers. We thank the panelists. Thank you so much. I want to appreciate all of you, and I know Sarah did thank all of you, Brian, William, Ivan, Melinda, and her Lady Justice Stella. May I humbly request that two things are happening. Lunch is ready, but we were intentional on making sure you go through the exhibition as you get to the lunch hall. So the lunch tent is through the exhibition. So you must go through the exhibition to get to lunch. And also, if you have the program guide, you will notice, and as I mentioned, the masterclass on value in tech companies that is ongoing. That will go until a bit of halfway the lunch. So those of you interested in the masterclass on value in tech companies, that's ongoing. Please again check on the QR code or check the app for the details. That's in Aswa actually. But also for those of you who will be pitching, our second pitch will start at 2:30 in Aswa in the same room. The pitching session, the second pitching session for the 10 entrepreneurs. But also our next session, specifically speaking to AgTech, will be happening in this room, Bunyonyi. That should happen from 2:30 sharp. And also the other session that is happening, parallel session, will be happening in Choga also at 2:30. But that's also specifically speaking to sustainable mining. I also expect that if you have your lunch early, you can continue with the matchmaking that is happening downstairs in the exhibition area. The matchmaking and, of course, networking that is happening within the exhibition area. And request that we will all be back in this room at exactly 4 p.m. for the launch of projects funded by Team Europe, 4 p.m. And thereafter, we will invite all of you to our cocktail at 5 p.m. So please note our hashtags on the screen, share. If you're tracking the photos from the opening session and all the other panels that are ongoing, you could only find them if you actually look up any of the hashtags up there. You will be able to find all the beautiful photos from all the sessions this morning and early part of the afternoon. All right? So make your way through the exhibition down in the ground floor, and then you will make your way to the lunch tent just outside the exhibition area. That's where we're having lunch. On your way into the tent, someone will give you a coupon to make your way into the tent, lunch tent. Please ensure you have your badge with you, because that's really your access to lunch, right? That's the only way you'll get a lunch coupon on your way down. But we request you visit our exhibition stalls on your way to lunch or after lunch. And that's also the same space we're using for networking and matchmaking. Thank you so much.